How my wife's Instagram friend ruined the biggest news of my life. I'm 29, and she is 27. Sarah and I have been together for 4 years, married for 2, both from the same hometown of Millbrook but currently living in Boston. Our story started simply enough. We met at our high school reunion, though we'd barely known each other during school. She was the quiet girl who sat in the back of chemistry class, and I was the guy who spent too much time in the computer lab. 6 years after graduation, we found ourselves sharing stories over punch at the reunion, and something just clicked. The decision to try for a baby wasn't spontaneous. We'd spent months discussing it, planning our finances, and even converting our home office into what would become a nursery. Sarah had always wanted to be a mother, and I'd catch her sometimes, standing in that empty room, just smiling at the possibilities. We'd been trying for 3 months, tracking ovulation cycles and everything. The wait had been both exciting and nerve-wracking. This weekend, she's back in Millbrook for her cousin Amy's baby shower. I couldn't make it because of a major project deadline at the software company where I work. The irony isn't lost on me that I'm missing a baby-related event only to find out about my own baby in the worst possible way. It started with a notification from WhatsApp. Our friend group, me, my best friend Mike, and couple of guys from college, has this chat where we share everything from memes to life updates. I was in the middle of debugging code when Mike's message popped up. "Dude. Congratulations." Followed by a screenshot. The screenshot was from Instagram, posted by Jenny, one of Sarah's closest friends from high school. The image showed Sarah, tears streaming down her face, surrounded by her friends in what I recognized as her parents' living room. The caption read, "You are going to be the best mom." My heart stopped. This wasn't how I was supposed to find out. I called Sarah immediately, my hands shaking as I dialed. She picked up on the second ring, her voice excited. "I have news, babe." The words felt like salt in a wound. All I could manage was, "I know, you're pregnant." There was a pause, followed by her surprised, "Wow, babe, how did you know?" That's when the anger really hit. Saw it on Insta. Didn't think to call me first, huh? The defensiveness in her voice was immediate. "What? I didn't post anything." I couldn't help the bitterness in my response. "Yeah, but your friends did." "That's one way to find out I'm going to be a dad, thanks." I hung up before she could respond. My phone started buzzing immediately with her calls, but I couldn't bring myself to answer. I sat there in my home office, staring at the half-finished code on my screen, not really seeing it. The room felt too small, too hot. I got up and paced, trying to process what had just happened. The calls from Sarah continued until my sister Emma's name appeared on the screen. Emma has always been our mediator of sorts. 3 years older than me, she's the voice of reason in our family, the one who can usually talk sense into me when I'm being stubborn. I almost didn't answer her call either, but something told me I should. "What's going on?" Emma's voice was concerned. "I just got to your in-laws' house, and it's chaos here. Martha and John, Sarah's parents, are arguing with Jenny. Sarah's locked herself in her old bedroom, and everyone's crying." I told her what happened, my voice probably sounding more defeated than angry by this point. Emma's response was immediate and defensive of Sarah. There's no way she would do that. The certainty in her voice just irritated me more. "Well, she did." I could hear the background noise on Emma's end, muffled voices, doors closing. "Let me find out what's actually happening here," she said before hanging up. I tried to go back to work, but couldn't focus. The code on my screen might as well have been written in hieroglyphics. I kept thinking about all the ways I'd imagined finding out I was going to be a father. Maybe Sarah would leave the positive test on my pillow, or maybe she'd order a custom t-shirt announcing it. Hell, even a simple phone call would have been fine. Instead, I found out through a screenshot of an Instagram story posted by someone else. When Emma called back, the story she told made everything worse. The timeline she laid out felt like twisting the knife. Sarah had been feeling off for a few days but attributed it to stress from planning Amy's baby shower. While helping with decorations this morning, she mentioned to her friend Lisa that her period was late. Lisa, ever the enthusiastic one, immediately suggested getting pregnancy tests. They bought not one, but 5 different brands from the local pharmacy. All 5 tests were positive. Instead of calling me immediately, Sarah told Lisa, who then called Jenny. Jenny brought over champagne, for everyone else, and sparkling cider, for Sarah. They called Rachel, who brought cupcakes. Before long, Sarah's parents were involved, and it turned into an impromptu celebration. 2 hours of celebration, sharing, and planning, all while I sat oblivious at my desk in Boston. The worst part? According to Emma, when Jenny posted the Instagram story, the other friends actually protested. They knew it wasn't right. But Sarah hadn't stopped them from taking photos or sharing the news. She'd been too caught up in the moment, they said. Too excited. Too emotional. I finally called Sarah back after processing everything Emma told me. Her voice was thick with tears when she answered. "I'm so sorry," she said immediately. "I was going to surprise you. I had this whole plan. But I cut her off. If you were planning to surprise me, why were you ready to tell me the moment I called?" The silence that followed was answer enough. "I needed some time," she tried to explain. "I was processing it. I was scared. But all I could think about were the 10 other people who got to process it with her before me. 10 people who got to share in her fear, her joy, her tears, while I sat unaware, finding out through social media like some distant acquaintance. I need some time to think," I told her. That's when she started yelling, saying I couldn't just walk away, that we needed to talk about it. My response was probably harsher than necessary. "Why do we need to talk? So you can lie again?" I hung up before she could respond. The messages started flooding in after that. Mike sent a string of texts apologizing for being the bearer of bad news. Jenny sent a long apology through Instagram, which I didn't read. Sarah's parents both called, but I let it go to voicemail. Even my mom called, having heard the news from Emma. I sat in our living room, looking at the photos on our walls. Our wedding day, where Sarah looked so beautiful in her white dress. Our first vacation together in Cape Cod, where we got sunburned so badly we could barely move for days. The day we moved into our house, both of us covered in paint but grinning like idiots. All these moments we'd shared together, just the two of us. The tears came unexpectedly. I'm not usually emotional. The last time I cried was probably when my dad passed away 5 years ago. But sitting there, thinking about how this moment had been stolen from us, I couldn't help it. This was supposed to be our moment, mine and Sarah's. Instead, it had become a public spectacle, shared with everyone else before it was shared with me. Emma's text message came through as I was wiping my eyes. "Hey, I know this sucks, and it was crappy of her, but don't let this ruin it for you. You're going to be a dad. You're going to be an amazing dad. This is great." She's right, of course. Tomorrow, I'll call Sarah back. We'll talk about doctor's appointments and prenatal vitamins. I'll listen to her plans for the nursery and pretend I'm not still hurt. I'll be the supportive husband she needs because that's what matters now. We're having a baby, a little person who will depend on us to be better than our mistakes. But tonight, I'm allowing myself to feel everything. The anger at being the last to know. The hurt of realizing my wife shared this moment with others before me. The fear that this is somehow indicative of larger problems in our marriage. And yes, underneath it all, the overwhelming joy and terror of knowing I'm going to be a father. Sarah keeps texting me updates about her symptoms, probably hoping I'll respond. She's feeling nauseous, she says. Tired. Emotional. Part of me wants to tell her that's exactly how I'm feeling too, but I'm not ready for that conversation yet. Instead, I order her favorite ginger tea from Amazon and have it shipped to her parents' house. It's the best I can do right now. I spend the rest of the evening going through our photos on my phone. There's one from last month, where Sarah's sleeping on the couch with her hand on her stomach. Was she pregnant then? Was our baby already growing inside her while we were still hoping and waiting? The thought makes me smile despite everything. Around midnight, I get another call from Emma. She's still at our in-laws' house, having stayed to help calm things down. Jenny has been banned from the house by Martha, who's furious about the Instagram post. John is trying to mediate between everyone. And Sarah? Sarah's still in her old room, alternating between crying and being sick. She really does feel terrible, Emma tells me. She knows she messed up. I know she's right, but I'm not ready to let go of my anger yet. Did she tell you what her big surprise plan was supposed to be? I ask, curious despite myself. Emma sighs. Something about a scavenger hunt in your house, leading to the positive tests. She had it all planned out for when she got back on Sunday. That sounds exactly like Sarah. She's always been the creative one in our relationship. She once organized a citywide treasure hunt for my birthday, leaving clues at all our favorite spots in Boston. The thought of her planning something similar for this announcement makes my heart ache a little less. I finally sent her a text before going to bed. I love you. We'll talk tomorrow. Her response is immediate. I love you too. So much. Both of you. It's the both of you that gets me. There's really going to be 3 of us soon. Tomorrow, I'll drive down to Millbrook. We'll have a proper conversation face to face. I'll hold her while she cries, and maybe I'll cry too. We'll talk about how we're going to handle telling everyone else, the people who don't follow Jenny on Instagram, that is. We'll start planning for this new chapter in our lives. But tonight, I'm going to sit here in our quiet house, thinking about how different it will be in a few months. There will be crying, and not just from Sarah or me, sleepless nights, diaper changes, and countless moments of panic and joy. Life as we know it is about to change completely. I get up and walk to what will be the nursery. The room is empty except for my old desk, which we haven't moved out yet. Standing here, I can almost imagine it. A crib against that wall, a changing table by the window, a rocking chair in the corner. Maybe some animal prints on the walls. Sarah loves giraffes. My phone buzzes with another text from Sarah. The baby books say it's the size of a poppy seed right now. I smile despite myself. Of course she's already reading baby books. That's my wife, always prepared, always excited to learn. Even if she sometimes gets carried away with that excitement and makes questionable decisions. I reply with a poppy seed emoji, which makes her send back a heart. It's a small exchange, but it feels like a step toward forgiveness. Tomorrow, we'll deal with everything else. We'll talk about boundaries and communication and how to handle big news in the future. We'll probably argue some more, and then make up, and then start planning for this huge change in our lives. But for now, I'm just going to sit here in this empty room that won't be empty for long, thinking about poppy seeds and giraffes and how life has a way of surprising you, even when the surprise doesn't come quite the way you expected it to. My sister's words keep echoing in my mind. I'm going to be a dad. Despite everything that's happened today, despite the anger and hurt and tears, that thought still fills me with more joy than I can express. Tomorrow, I'll tell Sarah that. Tonight, I'll just let myself feel everything, good and bad, as I process this massive change in my life. I'll probably swallow my pride and pretend I'm fine just to avoid making my wife too emotional during the pregnancy. But I'll do that tomorrow. Tonight, I'll just sulk.